Morning, Rise and Shiners. I don't know about you, but my brain is like, not yet. Goodness, I was wakefully awake and go back and have a horrible the next couple hours of your sleep schedule. Right? Anybody else? Anybody else have that? It's all right. I actually decided to journal about it, and it was pretty fascinating. Ben Affleck. It was like Gone Girl, but weird. So, anywho, good morning and happy transformational Tuesday. And you are watching Rise and Shine with me because I'm Renee, and I also go by Wild Blossom. So, Transformational Tuesday. Transformational Tuesday, we go ahead and talk about what it is that we are looking to achieve and thinking about who you need to become to achieve the results you desire. So feel free to go ahead and type in the comments. I know we're all just waking up, but go ahead and type in the comments where you're tuning in from so I can give you out. And also, what are some of the things, like yesterday was Monday is Manifest Monday. So we like to talk about, what it is that you're looking to manifest. And today it's kind of like going along with that. Okay, so we declared yesterday what you're looking to manifest. So who do you want to achieve those results? And it's not saying you have to become this totally different person necessarily. Like you have to start doing, well, that's not necessarily the case either. It's not saying that you have to change who you are intrinsically, but do you need to become a more disciplined person? Do you need to become more patient, more compassionate, more protective of your time? Like, how do you need to change your actions, your thoughts, your words, all the results you desire? So go ahead and feel free to type in the comments as my brain is waking up. Go ahead and type in the comments what it is that you're looking to achieve. And especially if you have an idea of the direction that you have to go into to get there. And I'll help you live on the air put together kind of a success plan as far as how you're going to go about achieving those results. So, all right. Sammy Mae Jenkins, good morning. Thanks for tuning in. No, I'm not getting sick, by the way. I left my windows open, and I think my allergies are just kind of like, they're appreciative that the air is not super dry, but at the same time, my allergies are like, probably time to take some allergy medicine. So anywho, well, you guys are typing in what it is that your goals are and getting the brain activity going as far as what you think you need to do, how you need to change your actions and your thoughts to become what you need to become to achieve the results you need to, or you desire to achieve. Let's hop into what we were talking about yesterday. So yesterday we were talking about rules, aka bullshit rules. Rules put in place usually by religious entities, parents because I said so type of things, cultural norms, things like that. Good morning, Stephen. Things like that typically we'll get into a little bit later today about how to actually dissect and find out, is this a Brule? But typically a Brule is, by and large, if it's a rule that doesn't really feel good to abide by, that might not necessarily feel natural to you. If it's something that you question, like, well, other cultures, other religions are okay with this. Why can't we? Why can't I? Something like that might be a Brule. If it just feels, especially in modern society, feels antiquated and outdated, might be a Brule. So we'll get to that test in a little bit. So for those of you guys just tuning in, it's Transformational Tuesday. Type in the comments what your goals are and who you need to become to achieve those results so I can help you get there. So while you are typing those in, I like to start the day with a quote. So here we go. It's a long one, but it's a good one. The more in tune and in love you are with your awesome self, the less crap you will give about what any non-fans of yours think. When you love and connect deeply with your highest self, you'll discover that your insecurities, none of that is who you are. That gnarliness is just where you're at. The life force known as universal intelligence is flowing through your meaty human body, making your blood pump, your mind think, your heart desire, your intuition. This force that flows through you is the essence of who you are. It's the highest frequency. You are a universal intelligence seeking expression on earth through the you that is you. So when your energy is vibrating at the highest frequency possible, the frequency of love, you're like a freaking tornado of awesomeness. That quote, Jen Sincero, or Jen Sincero, however she actually pronounces her name, that I'm not totally sure of, but what I am sure of is that we both share the same mentor. She is the famed author of the You Are a Badass series. So you are a badass every day, you are a badass at making money. So talking about this, when we talk about the frequency of vibrations, right? I liken it to a radio station. And let's say you want to listen to, now I listen to Pandora, so pardon me, radio stations, if I get your call outs wrong, but let's say you want to listen to Star 102.5. What is that, like pop and contemporary music? But well, rock's cool. But if you want to tune into that pop station, you got to tune it up. You got to raise your frequency a few notches to get up there. Now, I'm not saying that pop music is better or anything than rock music. I myself, I'm a pop punk fan. But what I am saying is to get to a certain frequency, you either have to dial it up or dial it down. Now, in the terms of emotions, love is the highest frequency. Love is the best frequency. And this one we are going to grade. So we're not necessarily going to grade frequencies for radio stations as far as preferences, but as far as feelings go, love is the ultimate feeling. Love is what we all strive for. Remember, we're pleasure-based humans. We either strive to achieve love and go get love, or we strive to avoid pain and thereby avoiding pain, receive pleasure from that. And that is a sense of love. Good morning, Christina Marie. And so no matter what, we're all operating on a scale of attainment of love and pleasure in some way, shape, or form, just in our own version of doing that. So self-love is the highest form of love available because it's actually easier to think that you have love for another entity than to actually have love for yourself. Because having love for yourself means going through and it's like replanting a flower. Digging through the dirt and the rocks and the stone and the hard dirt to get down to the fragile little roots to make sure that those are secure and planted in a place that's going to grow for them the best. Hence why my company is Wild Blossom Beacon. And when you're replanting this tender flower, it's not easy. Digging down deep to get to those roots, let alone making sure that those roots are well nurtured and cared for, it's difficult. Whereas to initially love and initially fall in love with somebody else, you don't get to see those roots. You don't have to deal with those roots. So it's actually easier to have love for another entity than yourself. But when you do have love for yourself and of and from yourself, loving others, forgiving others, accepting others is exponentially easier. So, especially if you're the type that falls in love easily as it is, Now it'll be even easier when you have self-love, but with less heartbreak. Because that's the caveat, right? When you're the kind of person that has an open heart that tends to fall in love easily, you also, as a result, tend to have your heart broken easily because you put yourself out there. I mean, if nothing else, it's a law of averages, right? The more you put yourself out there, the more exposed you are, the more opportunity you have for it to not work out, but just as much, the more opportunity you have for it to work out. Yes, I recently just rewatched He's Just Not That Into You. And towards the end, the protagonist gives a pretty solid speech. She's like, look, yeah, I might make an ass out of myself. I might, do stupid things that I regret, but I'm that much closer to finding somebody than you ever are. And I like her romantic, hopeful view on things. And so this, again, it's not about compare stalker. It's not about saying like, oh, well, this is where I am in terms of putting myself out there in terms of receiving and obtaining love. And this is where you are. It's not about that. So dialing it back in about self-love, when you have true and real self-love, and there's a difference between saying, I love myself, I'm cool, I'm awesome, and genuinely loving yourself and accepting yourself for all the not so pretty things, all the difficult things, to parenting that young child that didn't get what that little you needed at the time. And so took on responsibilities that weren't theirs. It's one thing to have a bravado and have this outer shell that we all wear in some way, shape, or form of, I'm awesome, I'm good. Hell, when I started my personal journey, if you had told me that I was on a personal journey of self-development, I would have told you what to do with that personal development, where to shove it, and how far up to shove it. Like, I was good. I was pretty. I was talented. I was smart. I still am. It's not like this is all past tense, but I had everything together. Like, everything I did, I excelled at. Like, da da da. Like, yeah, I'm good. I love myself. I had so many things that I had so many layers of self-preservation that externally I could look at myself and be like, yeah, total package. Don't know why you're not getting with the program, and be good with that. That I had so many of those protective layers shielding me from the pain that I didn't want to face. And so that I was actually blind to it. And I genuinely thought I was good. And to a certain degree, and to my credit, I was. But when I started going down that path of self-development and starting to understand why I did certain things, because at some point you have to look at life and say, all right, certain things are not working out and certain things just have not been in my zone of genius. What can I do to improve that? Can I either outsource them, or what can I do to fix that? And typically we've probably been attempting to outsource them in various ways, like in other people, like in dating somebody and expecting them to read your mind, even though they barely even know you, let alone know how your mind works, and expect them to sweep you off your feet and do all these things and say all the right things when they don't even know who you are, let alone how you operate. So often we find ourselves projecting what we're looking for onto other people, romantic or not, seeking to get our needs met externally. And that, just like all things, when I say, if you feel triggered, don't pull back. Lean into that trigger. I'm being triggered by this for a reason. Why? And that's where you start digging in and saying, oh, well, in the not so nice way that my mom said it, well, you find yourself in these situations, there's a common denominator. That common denominator is you. So maybe you're the problem. Ow. The nicer thing would have been to say, okay, so this keeps happening. is there something that I can do? Because yes, they've got their issues. These situations are, they are what they are. But what can I contribute? What can I improve on? Getting out of this prince and princess mentality that I'm perfect and it's everybody else's fault. That's step number one. So when you start going through those layers and start peeling it back, it's kind of Alice down the rabbit hole of following that white rabbit, like, well, what else? And if you just remain curious, you get to go back in and find out how you're operating. And it's pretty fascinating. So anywho, going back to Jen Sincero's quote, the more in tune and in love you are with your awesome self, so vibrations go up because you're feeling the sensation and the sense of love. So the more that you love yourself, basically, the less crap you're going to give about what anyone else that is not a fan of yours thinks, right? Because we spend a lot of our time and energy, what do other people think of me? And I want this person to like me. I want to be accepted. What's cool about self-love is it's not that you're not aware of what other people think or feel about you. It's that it doesn't affect you. It's like all this Kevlar and bulletproofing that we've been putting on externally in forms of emotional fronts and hardened personalities that we've grown and added over the years is it was essential at the time, but when you have self-love, it's its own internal protection. It's its own internal bubble where it's like things just bounce off. Like it's not relevant to you. It doesn't matter. Like, can you still have compassion and concern for other people? Absolutely. But does it bother you that somebody who doesn't even necessarily like you doesn't like you? No, why would it? Now, does it, what if it's somebody that you have to deal with, like if you have to work with them or you live with them or something? Okay, well, that adds a little dynamic to it, but just because you have to cohabitate or co-work with them doesn't mean that you have to internalize how they may or may not think about you or feel about you. And the more in tune, the higher your vibration of love is. It's like, think of it as like sonar, right? You're vibrating. And we can go back to earlier videos. Everything in existence has a vibration. Living, non-living, organic, inorganic. It all emits a certain level of frequency. Scientifically proven, studied, all that. It's not just me waking up, pulling things out of the thin air. And when things are vibrating at this frequency of love, it is the highest on the scale. And it's almost like it's such a high frequency. So frequencies are high because they're vibrating so quickly. So it's almost like it's like the way sonar and radar works, like it's bouncing off of things, right? It's energetically bouncing off. So anything that's at a lower vibration than that can't tune in, right? If you are trying to tune into 107.5 and you're only at the frequency of 90.5, you can't. You have to raise your frequency. You have to start vibrating faster in order to get up to that higher vibration. So it's physically and chemically impossible for those lower vibrations to even affect. So there's actually some science, clearly I'm not a scientist, but there's actually some science to back this up, that when you have self-love, people who aren't even friends of yours, if they're not fans, it really doesn't matter. It doesn't shake you. You're not as concerned with it. Biologically, cells alter and you don't care. And it's not in an uncaring, like mean, like, I don't care about you. It's in a genuine, like, you're ambivalent to it. You're just like, whatever. It literally doesn't affect me. I'll accept and embrace you if you want to be cool, but if not, like, go about your day. Bless you. She goes on to say, when you love and connect deeply with your highest self, you'll discover that your insecurities, none of that is who you are. You are not that matter. She says that gnarliness is just where you're at. It's like what I say. Who you are right now isn't necessarily who you really are. It's just who you've become so far. Those insecurities, that shit talk that you give to yourself, all the shoulds that people shit on you on, it's not you. It's external stuff. If it helps, think of yourself as a bubble boy or girl. Like, put the bubble around yourself and see the words coming out of people's mouths. Like it would be a cartoon. You should do this. You should do that. You shouldn't do that. You should be thinner. You should be taller. You should cut your hair. You should do this. Should. And you just see the should flying out of their mouths. Cartoony. And you just see it bouncing off this bubble. It's like that old, saying when we were kids, I'm rubber and you're glue. Whatever you say bounces off me and sticks to you. We forget how useful certain adages can be because they're just said to us in a just kind of way. That's not who you are. That's people's projections of their own insecurities onto you. That's why when you're triggered, you lean in. What is it saying about me? Only when you're triggered. Because if it's said, you're just like, if you're not triggered by it, there might not be a message there for you. So she talks about universal intelligence. That's her way of saying spirit, God, source. She says it's life force and it's flowing through your meaty human body. It's the essence of who you are. And that is the highest frequency of you when you are in tune and in love with yourself. And it's that you, as a human, are universal intelligence seeking expression on earth through the you that is you. So when your energy is vibrating at the highest frequency possible, the frequency of love, you're like a freaking tornado of awesomeness. When you trust and embrace and accept all of who you are, the good and the not so good, so they say, and you can love all of that, that's you expressing you. That's you fully being you as you were created. And there are no extra humans. We were not created just to be fillers in a movie role. So your passions, your desires, they matter. Just as you were created, those were created within you because you are capable of executing those. And the only way you're capable of executing those is by expressing yourself to your highest potential. And in order to do that, you got to accept all of this. Freaking of awesomeness going to use that, right, Kimba? Awesome. Yeah, Jen Sincero, she is brilliant with words. Love her. So, it might be a Brule if. You guys all remember, you might be a redneck if. Well, here's my take on that, but with rules. Bullshit rules. So, these are 5 questions-ish. Some of them are 2 parts. But these are questions to keep on hand to ask of everything. Now, the good doctor always said, Dr. Seuss, question everything. Parents might not like it. Authorities certainly don't like it. But question everything. Not necessarily to be an antagonist and to be a pain in the ass, but question everything to think for yourself, to understand. Don't just accept information that's just handed to you. Really understand it to make it part of you. I mean, those of you who enjoy watching me and get what I'm saying, I'm regurgitating information that was passed down to me in digestible formats that related, and then I just put my own spin on it. And I had to ask questions and I had to dig deeper and find that. And newsflash, I'm throwing Oz under the bus here. I'm peeling back the curtain. That's what coaches do. We're all basically saying the same stuff. We're just saying it from our own truth, our own understanding. And we get there by questioning everything. You're the only you. One of my mentors always says, there has never been, nor there never will be, another human being on the planet with the same genetic makeup and the same mental makeup and the same emotional stance and viewpoints as you. And it's up to you to take all this information and mix it up and use it the way it resonates for you. So, with that being said, question everything. Because when you question it, you can put it into your own words. And they always say, I remember in school and college and everything, the best way to learn is to teach it to other people, because you're then putting it in your own words. And that's what happens when you question everything. So, breaking away from the rules, question. And here are your questions. Now, again, rules are they're heavily found in religion, but they're not necessarily just based in spirituality. So you can ask these of everything. Is this thing that I'm questioning, is it based on trust and hope in humanity, or is it based on negative assumptions? If it's based on negative assumptions, it might be a Brule, such as a negative stereotype. Now, are we saying don't associate with this person or this type of person because of fill in a blank? Or is it genuinely something that is based on trust and hope in humanity? Chances are most rules in general are not based on trust and hope in humanity. If there's some sort of, oh, well, those kind of people tend to do these things, might be a Brule. And if it's a Brule, for the record, might be time to question that and find a way to drop that from your life. That's why we are looking for Brules. Number 2, does it violate the golden rule? Now, we've all been told we should live by the one should that is actually decent. To live by the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have done unto you. And it's one of those, we can all recite it, but we don't take it to heart. Does it elevate some while devaluing others? Is it subjective? Really? Live by the golden rule. Do you get ahead at the expense of other people? And this is the way that you're living your life? Now, I'm not saying hand out participation ribbons to everybody. What I'm saying is, does it require sacrifice of others unwillingly? Is it devaluing others? Is it the concept of, I'm purposefully going to surround myself with other women who I know are uglier than me just so that I look prettier at the bar? I remember when that concept was introduced to me when I was in my early 20s, and I was like, that's so fucked up. People do that? I'm like, yeah. I forgot what it was called. It was like the whole beer, something to do with like beer goggles thing. Like she's kind of cute, but she surrounds herself with others that are not as cute, like they're definitely not cute, so that she looks cuter, so it's like an optical illusion. Dumb stuff like that. Demeaning other people. Well, he didn't do that. And his progress report will actually show like exploiting the failures of others to then say, but my progress report, could you just have said, here's my progress report? Did you have to go ahead and devalue others? That would be a violation of the golden rule. And if that is your code of ethics, if that is a way that you go about getting ahead, might be a Brule. Being subjective. Is it based on something that could change day to day? Could be a Brule. Number 3, did it come from my culture or religion, or was the majority of the world born into this? Is it a belief about a particular way of life or a rule about a particular habit? If it came from your particular culture or religion, that's a subsection. No matter how big that culture or religion might be, knowing full well that there are several others in existence, not saying one's right or wrong, but just with the awareness that there are others and the majority of the rest of the world was not born into this, might be a Brule. If it's really getting down to the nitty-gritty of it's a way of life versus it's a particular habit, you're going to be that judgmental about a habit. If they do this and that could be a Brule. No, it could not be. If you are, adamant against dating smokers, smoking is a habit, and you just want nothing of it, may or may not be a Brule, may or may not be a bad thing. I won't be around smokers. I can't have it. Health-wise, not going to deal with it. So, again, these are just questions. Number 4, is it based on a rational choice or contagion? Is it something I never thought about questioning or doing differently? If you never thought about questioning, I'm so sorry, I have to let the puppy dog out. As you wish, my dear. Hang on. So is it based on rational choice? And that kind of goes along with my smoking choice, right? That's a rational choice. It wasn't something that was passed down to me. In fact, I grew up with smokers, which is why it was a rational choice for me to say, no smokers in my life. Is it something you just never thought about questioning? Here's the mind blower of it all. When you don't think, life happens and you don't think to question it. That's just the way life is. That's just the way it is. If you catch yourself saying that's just the way it is about anything, might be a Brule. Might be time to question it. Now, it doesn't mean necessarily that you're going to overthrow a government, that you're going to have an upheaval or revival in a culture or religion or even in your own family. But your life is about you and your self-love, your self-preservation, your self-expression. And if you are not expressing yourself to the fullest extent you can, then the world is truly at a loss. And the only way that you can fully express yourself is if you're aware that you're even capable of doing so. And so often we just take things as they come, as the media has fed it, as our parents have fed it to us, as schools have fed it to us, and we take it without question. So it's so important to question it. Maybe what's worked culturally for years and years and hundreds and centuries of years. Maybe just because it's been established doesn't necessarily mean it's the right thing. Or maybe it doesn't mean it's the right thing for me. And maybe for you it is. It's all about questioning. It's not assigning right or wrong. And number 5, the biggest and most important one of all, because this is about you, right? Does it serve my happiness? Is it actually benefiting me, my goals, and my desires? Like yesterday's example of young Vishen questioning the Brule, stating that Hindus couldn't eat beef. He's like, but I would really like to have a McDonald's cheeseburger. Is all of Hinduism going to crumble because he ate a burger? No. Did he change his parents' views on it? I don't think so. I think they're still devout. But expanded his own consciousness and his own awareness of pushing the envelope. And it served his happiness because he got to enjoy and try something that he wanted to try. Forbidden fruit, you may say. But he didn't go out and sacrifice a cow entirely himself just to have that one cheeseburger. And before I get the backlash, guys, I did the vegan thing for over a year. And I am all about supporting animal humanitarianism, and I'm very responsible when it comes to my food selections as well. Just saying. His choice was one that made him happy. So something I'd like you guys to think about as you think about those questions, keep those questions on hand for just anything that pops up throughout life. And now that, as Einstein said, a mind once expanded can never return to its original shape. I think that was Einstein anyway. Either way, wise quote, because now that you're aware of the existence of Brules and that, some of you might not have even, as silly as it might sound, some of you might not even have realized that it's actually okay to question these kinds of things. My personal mentor grew up in a fundamentalist Christian family where, the rule of God was the law. Like, that was it. And she had to question her own sort of rules to find her path and get her to where she is now. And there's no right or wrong. It's just whatever's right for you. Although I will say with a caveat, there is a wrong if it results in harming other people as a way to fulfill your own needs. Especially in modern society. Now, that's not to say that people's feelings might not get hurt along the way, but you're not responsible for other people's feelings. But if you go out of your way to hurt or upset another person's way of being to gain an advantage on yours, then we got some issues. It's unnecessary, and there are other ways to go about it. So now that you're aware of the existence of rules and how to identify them, I'd like you to think going forward of ways that you can raise your vibration. Yes, simply being aware of the existence of these rules will help, but other things factor in, like just what can you do to increase dopamine production in your bodies? The other day, I read, if you guys are getting my newsletters, you'll have a nice little story in there from yesterday. If you're not getting my newsletter, send me a DM. I send out a weekly newsletter, and that's also your way of finding out whenever I have free group coachings and stuff like that. So you definitely want to get on that newsletter. So just send me a DM with your email. But in this week's newsletter I sent out yesterday, a couple days ago, I read an article. Now, I'm going to be 35 in 2 weeks. And I read an article about how dopamine production, the feel-good, one of the feel-good chemicals in the body, dopamine is a neurotransmitter that releases feeling good in your body. And much like serotonin, oxytocin, and similar neurotransmitters like that. And dopamine, actually, the production of that in your body decreases as you age, and it starts slowing down in your 30s. And so we kind of joke around about like, oh, adulting sucks the life out of you, sucks the happiness. You have to go to work and then you've got mortgages and kids and all these other responsibilities and they suck the happiness out of you. And we joke around about that, but there's actually a biological structure that is also depleting. So it's not just the external things that are depleting at your happiness, but there's also biological at the cellular level where you are not producing the same hormones and chemicals to the same efficiency rate as you used to. Now, as with all things, of course, you can find ways to enhance that production of a certain chemical in your body. And dopamine is no exception, but that just increases the importance, especially those of us that are in our 30s and above, that we have got to make self-care, to make self-love a priority in our lives. Selfishness has a bad rep. We talk about selfishness as bad, like, oh, you're so selfish. Yeah. Anytime I hear the word selfish, I immediately think of the airplane and the oxygen mask. Charging up my battery, filling my cup to overflow and pouring from my overflow instead of pouring from my own cup. I'm here to serve. I'm here to help. I'm here to help make you happy. But I'm also here to be happy. And I'm not going to be a martyr anymore. I spent 20 plus years of being a martyr. Well, 30 plus years of being a martyr. Over that crap. It's not fun. Martyrs don't win. And that's where the whole nice guys finish last thing comes. No, nice guys don't finish last. Martyrs finish last. Nice guys just got to learn how to like themselves just as much as they're being nice to other people. Selfishness is actually when you are being selfish for your own recharge. It's actually the most selfless thing you can do. And in fact, it is your duty as a human being to be selfish. So I'd like you to think about ways that you can raise your vibration to be selfish so that you can fill your cup up to overflow, so that you can pour from your overflow and not just, it's like when your battery's dying and you're like, I just need just enough so I can make this phone call. Just enough. Like, how often do you find yourself saying that in life about anything? I need just enough money to pay for this. Just enough energy to finish writing this paper. Just enough emotional stability to handle this one conversation. Just enough. Stop asking for just enough. Just enough is not enough. It's not. And Kimba, I did not forget about your wealth consciousness. I'm segging way right into there right now. So ways you can raise your vibration. Self-care. That's your assignment for today. Write down ways you can raise your vibration. So just enough is not just enough. Just enough money for the bills is not just enough money. The US government just printed, just out of thin air, created $1 trillion new dollars that didn't previously exist. Okay, did the value of the dollar go down? I never understood this, and I am grateful that I never understood inflation. I mean, I got the concept, but I'm grateful that I never really understood inflation and deflation, because it's just when someone decides it is what it is, just like the stock market, which I never understood, just like Bitcoin. It's somebody says it's valued at this today. And then the whole world freaks out. And we live our whole lives around, I have to have this amount. I have to have that amount. Guys, I'm going to say it again. The US government just created $1 trillion that didn't previously exist. say what you want about the value of the American dollar going up or going down. All I know is you got money, and that money still buys things. That money still puts food on your table. It does not shut your dog up, though. Puppy. As long as money can be exchanged for something else, which is the only thing money is created for, it's a form of currency. Before money came into existence, it was bartering. I have this book. I would like a glass of water. I have a glass of water. I'll go ahead and take the book. Sure. It's an exchange. Everything, as we discussed earlier, has a vibration. Everything, we're going to get a little woo-woo here, but everything is energy. A different frequency, a different vibration. Money is also energy. It's neutral. It's not good or bad. But we as a society have assigned such negative concepts to money, scarcity being one of them, that there's not enough in existence. We might have come from a situation where we witnessed there wasn't enough. Our parents might have constantly complained how, we're eating them out of house and home, how all their money is going to bills and groceries, and that's why we never go on a vacation. This is why we can't have nice things. All these things, whether we thought they were funny, we're trying to make light of the situation or not. We grew up having things modeled for us that it's scarce. But the reality is it's not. That was the lens that our parents were looking through, or whoever was modeling it for us. And we grow up and we go through life and we don't know any other way, just like with Brule's. So we say, I will look through this lens because I know this lens. I can see out of this lens. My eyes have adjusted to it. I know this lens. We just created $1 trillion. Now, whether that got dispersed fairly or whether that money is super useful or not, that's a different discussion. The point is, it was created. There was a need for it. It was created. It was dispersed. It was received. Think of all the jewels, all the things there. The minute you feel like there's a scarcity around money, I'd like you to Google how many millionaires are in the US or in your country, or if you're not in the US. And then dial it back even further. How many millionaires are in your state? Maybe even in your city. There's a hell of a lot of them. And if money is being printed daily, there's no scarcity. Think about it. If everybody had a successful job, does that mean that nobody could have a successful job? If the minimum wage gets raised to $20 an hour, while that can be life-changing for some, there are still others of us that's like, yeah, I still can't live off of that. But while that can be life-changing for some, what is it? There was a quote that says, we've heard, we're only as strong as our weakest link. A country is only as rich as its poorest citizen. When we improve the quality of life for one, we are able to improve the quality of life for everyone. Theoretically. Yes, okay. So we raise the minimum wage to whatever it is. Yes, then that means that the rich are going to get richer. But guys, it's not, yes, there are systems that are designed to be oppressive and keep you where you are. Absolutely. But who forced you to be in that system? Remember what I said? You've got that brain. You've got those passions, those desires that are unique to you. They're there for a reason. I'm not saying you have to monetize all your hobbies, but I am saying you are gifted. Nature gifts every creature. No creature has a more advantageous position. Every creature is gifted with its own unique ability to defend itself in the wild. Yes, I'm talking about actual animals. Humans are no different. For the most part, we're all equipped with the same equipment. And we've all been given different nurturing. The more you boil it down, we've been fed a lot of the same crap. But we all have the ability to make it whatever we choose it to be. Yes, some people come from slightly more advantageous positions than others, but that doesn't mean that you can't. It's the wealth consciousness, it's the attitude behind it. And diving into these rules, diving into how you truly feel about yourself, your self-worth, your self-love. When you dive into that, you will overhaul these limiting beliefs that are also keeping you stagnant when it comes to money. In my 90-day course, so 90%, I think it's more like 85% now, I think we'll just say 85% of all of my clients that work with me opt for my 90-day program. And 100% of everybody who has completed the 90-day program, I have some people who took it but didn't complete it. 100% of everybody who completed my 90-day program has made more money in the first month. So it's a 3-month program. And in 1 month, they've made more money than they had previously by investing in my 90-day program. It's because we get rid of those limiting beliefs. And it's increasing your wealth consciousness as well as getting rid of, it's this kind of action. Inputting wealth consciousness and getting rid of those limiting beliefs. So if you're curious to find out more, let's schedule a free clarity call. Kimba, I'm looking at you. But everyone else that's listening too, that whether this is live or recorded for you, let's schedule a free clarity call. It's about a half an hour of your time where we talk about what your goals are. And it could be money related, could be something totally different, but whatever it is that you are working through and you'd like to have a conversation about, we will have that conversation. And I promise you 2 things. You will get a breakthrough and some aha moment out of the conversation, and you will walk away with an actionable takeaway that you can implement right away. Totally free. So that is my time. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you, Kimba, for prompting me to get to this aspect. And I think it was a good handoff from Brule's. And if you guys have any questions throughout the day, I'll be checking this feed. And of course, you can always reach out and DM me. I am available for you. And as always, guys, cough into your elbow, wash your hands, and stay home. Love y'all.